Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Horrific Chat. Today I'm joined by film producer, author, educator, and critic Evan Ginzburg as we discuss his inspirations and journey into horror. Welcome to the stream, Evan. And
Thank
we
you so
nearly
much.
had some technical difficulties, but we've got it all sorted out and we're actually on time. That's a miracle for this channel.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Oh, welcome. So we met through Tony Caro. He introduced us, and obviously he's a long-term friend of the channel. He's also contributed to our anthologies as well with his writing. So, uh, God, how long have I known him now? A couple of years. Time just flies at the moment. So,
Tony's a good man.
yeah,
I
it's
know.
just
Tony.
interesting. Just interesting about who you meet. You don't know who else you get to talk to, and yeah, where it leads. It's all cool to make connections. Uh, One thing I want to talk about because one thing I've noticed it's very hard for authors or they find it difficult to come onto these sort of platforms and talk. Uh, does your film background give you a bit of an advantage now that you're sort of embraced writing, or was it something you always were comfortable with?
I've always juggled multiple things,
Hmm.
partially because New York is one of the most expensive places in the world to live, much like London. You guys would
Oh,
understand
oh
this.
yeah, God, it's
Uh,
ridiculous.
so I've juggled film producing, education as a longtime teacher. I've been an agent in professional wrestling, and this is my third book. So you always try to keep your hand in a lot of different things and throw a lot of things against the wall. Some can hit big, like The Wrestler did. Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler. I was
Hmm.
a producer. Other things could just fall by the wayside. It's the nature of the beast. And I've had projects we were, getting into, and some of the people involved just died all of a sudden. I mean, anything can go wrong.
Hmm.
And when something goes right, it's almost a miracle because any book, any movie, any project is initially just an idea. And when it comes to full fruition, it's remarkable. And like a great horror film, initially, that great horror film was just an idea. And somehow all the pieces came together. And there are 1,000 other ideas that never got off the ground. So just keep your hand in things and try to do quality work, and amazing things will happen, and it'll take you to amazing places.
What would you say to people that they've got the idea, they've produced the work, but like I said, they just will not talk. They won't go on to things like this. They have a sort of block. How important is it to have these type of conversations for what they are? It's this isn't an infomercial. We're just having a chat. But how important do you think it is just to get yourself out there,
I
meet audiences?
I think it's very important. It's like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, it doesn't exist. It didn't happen.
Hmm.
You could have a quality indie film that doesn't have a billion-dollar corporation behind it, and if you don't promote it, distributors today will tell you it's on you to promote it. It's it's basically up to the producers, the director, the actors, if it's a scripted film, the documentarians, if it's a documentary. So shows like this are important because it just leads to meeting. Let me put it this way. The arts, it's all about networking. It's networking.
Hmm.
If you're not out there, then you're writing or creating in a vacuum, literally a vacuum. And I recommend to anybody go on. I mean, you could be a bit choosy too. It doesn't have to be a guy that is clueless about what you're talking about. You want to talk to intelligent, well-spoken people that grasp what you're working on and what you're
And
trying.
yet you come here.
I mean, yeah, it's good that you could be, you know, laugh about yourself.
Oh, you have to in this world.
some people take themselves too seriously. Oh my God. Yeah.
That is self. I've noticed there is an element with some indie creators. There is an element of that of self importance, even at the lower levels. And recently, I've seen, oh god, like feuds and blow ups, and you wonder. Which I'm going to segue into our soon to be favorite topic, but you see these feuds and they almost feel manufactured, as if they're not real, and they're almost drama farming and trying to, I don't know, get people riled up in the wrong way. But as much as they're bringing people on their side, they're also turning half the people away because they're on the other person's side. And this seems to be a culture. And I blame American wrestling for that. I think that's where ground zero is for all this nonsense. You
Well,
are involved in that. So please do explain yourself, sir. I- Why did you do that to us? Why have you done it?
professional wrestling is such a part of the culture, and believe me, it's in England too. My cousin went to wrestling in the 60s and 70s
Oh, my granny loved it.
with his dad in
Mm.
Liverpool, you know. So,
Yeah.
but
No, every Saturday afternoon, my grandmother, she loved the wrestling, Big Daddy, Jan Haystacks, all that kind of, you know, what I mean, it was it was sad when you look back and you see some of that old footage. You're like, oh my god, why?
I mean, we got a
But I
lot.
love my granny, and she loved it. So you know,
Well, that's actually part of the appeal. Your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles took you as a kid to wrestling, whether it was in Liverpool or Madison Square Garden, it almost doesn't matter. And they had this wonderful experience together. This you're a kid, you believe it's real. There's awe and wonder. I walked into Madison Square Garden for the first time with my dad, 1974, and I'm a kid. And when I walked in, the very first thought that went through my head was, wow, it's in color, because we had a black and white TV.
Mhm.
And these guys were like Marvel superheroes and villains come to life. And you're there with your dad. And, you know, obviously at the time I had no idea. But 6 years later, my dad would be gone. So you cherish these nights, whether it was, you know, soccer. We say soccer, you say football, obviously. You know, whether it's a soccer match or you know, any kind of sports or wrestling, whatever it is, you did it with your beloved father or mother or grandparents, and you cherish it. And you know, decades later, it's almost like part of you. Now, yes, it's all quote unquote a work. It's, you know, the matches are predetermined. The booker writes it. They know who's going to win, who's going to lose, how they're going to win, how they're going to lose. It's like a mini, you know, script of a movie, to put it in layman's terms. However, gravity is not fake. You know, these guys are taking a pounding, flying through the air. You know, you're a big guy and you're landing on a hard mat. And, you know, the injuries are not fake. And being on the road, your divorces aren't fake. Your 3 marriages aren't fake. Your hip replacement, your shoulder replacement. And there's an art to it. It's like anything else. You've seen great horror movies. You've seen schlock, grindhouse horror movies. You know, it could be high art or it could be crap. It's the same thing with wrestling. So whenever somebody doesn't quite understand it, I say, like anything else, when done right, wrestling is an art. When done wrong, you know, it's a time killer like anything else. And you don't even have to, you know, appreciate it to understand that other people enjoy it. I've heard, look, I love horror, believe me. You know, I was weaned on Hammer horror, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, you know, all these guys. And I just love horror. But at the same time, I've heard plenty of people go, I don't like horror. Like the entire genre. They'll just dismiss it.
Yeah, I'm never going to slag anybody off for what they like. I'll rib them a bit, you know, make fun, but never actually dismiss somebody. You know, you like what you like.
Yeah.
I think what got me, particularly American wrestling, we got it. inflicted on us in the 90s during the MTV era, when we Sky TV and the MTV stuff. And there was this, it was the off the ring stuff that got me. Roided Up Retard 1, rawr, 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 rawr,
Yeah.
politely hands the mic over to Roided Up Retard 2. He goes, rawr, 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 rawr. And I'm just like, if you're going to fight, fight. Because I'm from Belfast originally, and we don't do that business. You just go for it. It's like, you got to fight. What's this talking? Why he's hand over the mic? And that bit, I was out, if that makes sense, because just that one particular scene, it was so contrived, so fake, and it just grated on me. You know the way some things do that, and they just put you off entirely. I don't even know who the wrestlers were.
I fully understand. As an educator, I've had many fellow teachers say to me, "What's an intelligent fellow like you doing watching this junk?" And I get it. So I'll tell you what happened.
Yep.
One day, and this is actually connected to England. One day I said to a colleague, middle-aged woman who taught math, I said, if I showed you a 10-minute wrestling match, would you actually watch it? And she said, yeah. So I showed her Tiger Mask from Japan against Dynamite Kid from England. Dynamite Kid. And it was just move after move, hold after hold. And it looked like a sport. It wasn't circus-like much of wrestling. WWE, believe me, there's a lot of stuff WWE does that I don't like. It's not a blanket, I love wrestling. A lot of it is garbage. But I understand why somebody who hasn't seen the best of pro wrestling would think it's silly or just for kids, because much of it is silly and for kids. So I totally get where you're coming from. And I'm not offended whatsoever, believe me.
Yeah. Now, one thing it did bring me, there was a documentary, and once again, this is back in the mid to late 90s, and it explained all the processes behind wrestling. So even from the signs being handed out, the fact that the auditoriums, like the pre-print the signs and they hand them out to the audience, having the microphone under the mat, the fact that the the referee is in comms with the commentators on the side, so they're gauging the audience. And I'm listening to this and appreciating the work that goes into putting on a stage show, because I'm even looking at it as a stage show. I was impressed, but then you got people that would just go, "It's real." They're telling you themselves it's not. And they just, you just see that almost religious fervor go over their eyes. And I can't deal with people like that. It doesn't matter what it is. If that's the fandom, I can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, get away from me, you lunatic.
Well, there's a lot of tribalism with wrestling. A religious fervor. They'll go on. They'll cross countries or even continents to go to a pay-per-view and spend 3, 4, 5 figures on a ticket. So there's a certain, definitely a religious fervor to some of it, and that's not necessarily good. But at the same time, you're a movie guy, and there's guys who'll tell me, I watched the latest superhero movie 37 times, so you can't tell me that's not a religious fervor or
that's a bit much.
You can
suspend disbelief and know it's a movie. Same as that you can suspend disbelief and know it's a stage show. It's these people, and there seemed to be quite a lot of them at the time. Glassy eyes.
I'll watch a movie multiple times if I love it, but I'm not going to watch it 37 times. That I could tell you. And people will tell you, I saw the latest Batman movie 37 times, and oh my God, I saw something new every time I watched it. I'm like, but that's 36 other movies that could have broadened your horizons that you didn't see, because So any subculture, any group of fandom, could go overboard with anything. Wrestling or film buffs.
Oh yeah, you see it in horror as well. You can have your social media horror fan, and they're in the costume all the time. They're all tatted up, with all the franchises, and all blend in.
I know cosplayers,
yeah. They're walking meme, and they're like, okay, I'm not that. Where actually, one thing people don't understand about the horror genre is like you've all people from all over the place. Like you can't instantly tell a horror fan, and I enjoy that. I like the fact that you can't tell instantly what somebody's about, because then that provokes you. You know, that's why you have conversations with people, because you just can't tell immediately, and then you get to know them, and that's what's interesting about humanity. Um, but this culture, like the tribal side of wrestling, I've seen that leach into movies. Like a movie's not even out, and you've got this gang, and you know, what I mean, the heel and the baby face sort of thing. We hate this movie, and if you like this movie, you're a horrible person. If you like this movie, you're a horrible person, etc. And you're like, the movie's not even out yet.
Yeah,
What the hell is this? Calm down.
as a filmmaker, I deeply resent that people are reviewing movies they haven't seen. You know, this is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. Yeah. So they'll pinpoint somebody in the cast that they feel is miscast, and they obsess over it. I can't believe they put this guy into the Spider-Man movie or the horror movie or whatever the case may be. And, you know, so it has to be crap because this actor is in it, or there's some scandal with somebody in the movie, and, you know, this negates the entire film and everybody else working on it. Anybody that understands movies, there's hundreds of people working on a movie. So if you have one actor who said the wrong thing on social media and you hate said actor because of it, it's not fair to the other 200 people, you know, that you're trashing a movie you haven't even watched. Come on.
And like I said, I blame wrestling because I just remember back to those days and that same glassy-eyed, you know, lunacy, which just makes you go, "Are you okay? Do you need to go have a sit down and relax a bit? Like, come on."
Well,
What's happening?
I come to the conclusion, and I'm sure this applies to horror as well. If you only have one interest in life, you're probably too obsessed with it. I mean, I love horror, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to watch. You know, I'm still going to watch Kurosawa, Antonioni, Fellini, etc., so on. You know, I'm not going to only watch horror because I love horror. And there's people that are so fixated, wrestling included. That's all they care about. They have no other interest. You know, that's going overboard, and it's probably not healthy.
No, I've just found myself, because of the channel. This channel kind of takes over your life. If you become a YouTuber, that's it. You just slowly get sucked down the spiral, you know, in the whirlpool. You're like, oh, I can't get out now. You just find yourself with no time to watch anything else. But luckily enough, I'm an old fart, so I've had many years experience doing other things, so it's not my whole life. But I can see that that person with the one hobby, the one interest, and they're like one-dimensional characters. Yeah, and they've nothing to offer because they are the meme.
I mean, if a person only has one interest, whether it's wrestling or horror or whatever the case may be, and that's all they could talk about, they're going to, with certain people that aren't interested, like you're not interested in wrestling. It would be very, you know, this person's going to be lost because they have no other expertise, which is probably not good.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm not a fan, but I can still talk about it, you know, and appreciate it. And even God, I remember The Wrestler back in the day. It was actually an interesting film, as almost like a documentary. Almost felt like a documentary, as more than a film. And it was just interesting the way they went, instead of going for the big high flashy lights of WWE, but it was actually the people that do the circuit round, like small leisure centers and like stadiums, and like earning nothing for it.
Talking about Beyond the Mat, Barry Blaustein. Barry Blaustein just died. He was Eddie Murphy's producer. He was a big time guy who actually loved pro wrestling, and he made this documentary. And it's a quality film. And sometimes a documentary on something you're not interested in, if it's done well, is very enlightening. I mean, I've seen documentaries on coal miners and such. And I'm a city kid from Brooklyn, New York, and I'll be like, this is fascinating. I don't have to really know a thing about it, but this documentary is teaching me and making me understand like why somebody would go into a pit and dig coal. You know, I mean, I'm born in the streets of New York. I wouldn't grasp any of this, but a good documentarian will really enlighten you and move you. Yeah.
God, remember when I lived in Scotland, God, years ago, I knew quite a few miners. They worked in kitchens, when I did a bit of kitchen work, and God, they're in their 60s and that, and they're washing pots, and I mean, they're knocking their pan in, and what it is, like, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, because my friends retired and they died, I'm just trying to keep alive. And they all, not one of them said they hated being in the mines. They missed it. When the mines closed, uh, they missed it. They missed the camaraderie. They missed the sense of purpose,
Yeah.
even though it was a horrible, dangerous job.
Yeah.
I've yet to hear an ex-miner say that they hated being in the mines. It's interesting. You're like, all right, okay. Never never would have twigged that. You would have thought, oh yeah, I had to work in the mines. I hated it. But no, anyone I've ever met, and double figures, like more than 10 people, say over a few years, all loved it and would go back tomorrow if they could, sort of thing.
Oh yeah. We did a documentary, 350 days, and it's about wrestlers who were literally on the road 300 plus days a year, some as many as 350, and the devastating effect that has on your body, your psyche, your marriages, your relationships with your children. Yeah, wrestling, it's a tough business. And at the very end of the movie, the wrestlers all go, believe it or not, I do it all over again. Prior in the movie, they're showing like every part of their body has been damaged, broken, replaced. I do it all over again. So
there's one of the scenes in that movie in the locker room where, I mean, everyone's coming in with bags of pills, and here, I've found this one. This will keep you going for a few weeks. And it didn't feel like a drug deal. It didn't feel like anything sinister was going on.
yeah,
It just felt like people were like, yeah, we can all keep going. Here, I found this thing. And they're all, what was it? I got you, brother. And stuff. It was all very,
it's
it was like
probably
a brotherhood. And
yeah,
then they go on stage and knock a melt out of each other. And I'm just like, that gave me an appreciation. I have to say, from the outside, that scenes like that just made me go, oh, right, okay, that there's something deeper here.
Oh yeah. You're probably talking about Beyond the Mat, very famous documentary, and
No, was that not in the wrestler itself, the movie? There's a locker room scene?
yeah, in the wrestler, we have a scene like that in the
Yeah,
wrestler.
that's that scene. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to remember back to the movie because I'm like, I
Yeah,
should have watched it again before coming on here. But
it's okay. It's okay. It's always out there. You can find it anywhere. Yeah, the wrestlers, if they got hurt, would generally, unless it was like a broken leg or whatnot, they would wrestle hurt, and they were scared of losing their push, losing their spot, losing. They're on top of the card, and if you disappear for a few months to heal, so these guys would just break a finger and wrap it up, or whatever the case may be, and a lot of them ended up with pain pill addictions and problems because of the steroids, because they wanted to bulk up, and there's a long trail of dead before their time pro wrestlers. And you were speaking about coal miners before, and I was going to say Adrian Street out of the UK. He would have been a coal miner like his dad, and he got into this whole like glam rock gimmick, and he became quite famous and moved to the States. Adrian Street, British wrestler.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's just it's interesting where life could take you. Talking about, did you always want to work at the creative sphere? Was that always your direction of travel, or how did you end up getting there?
I'll tell you what educators should not do. I'm in college. I'm a creative writing major. I wanted to make a living as a writer, and the professors would all say, it's almost impossible to make a living as a writer. Have something to fall back on. So that got me into education. I got a teaching license, a second major, but I always wanted to write. And one of the things I was writing about was pro wrestling, which got me into radio. This 50,000 watt station in New York, 99.5 WBAI, Pacifica, very left-leaning political station, but this was an arts program I was on. the host at the time loved wrestling, and he invited me on to talk about wrestling. And by being on this radio show, it led me to being an agent in pro wrestling. And by being an agent in pro wrestling, it led me to being the associate producer on The Wrestler. So one thing always leads to another, which is why I tell quote unquote creatives, keep your hand in things. Don't give up. Keep networking. Keep putting work out there and do quality work. You know, you were talking earlier about rage bait. You know, you stop fake feud. You want attention. You want clicks. You want views. How about doing quality work instead? You know?
Yeah, I always tell people, play the long game.
Yeah.
You know, it's this instant gratification thing is a short fuse and it'll burn out very quickly.
Yeah.
If you want to be in it, what do I say? Like, worry about getting a following after your first 100 videos. You know, once you've got 100 videos done, then you can start to look at expanding yourself, but take time to hone your craft. Like, if you see the first year of this channel, God, it was like some of the streams were horrible. Just with the technology setup, learning the pattern, getting comfortable in front of these things, you know, it takes time, but I don't know, people don't seem to want to invest that time anymore. They think they just click and collect, you know, maybe that's the culture, but that's it. They jump on and they think, oh, I'll go viral and that's it. That's all I need to do. And hence trying to take the shortcuts.
But the other side of that is, I mean, as documentarians, we'll have our films on various platforms, and you could have a ton of views, literally millions of views, and you're still not making a fortune of money. The pay can be so minuscule on some of these platforms. I mean, how many times do you hear musical artists talking about, you know, I got 10 million plays of my new song and they sent me some minuscule check. It's so you would have to have such a huge audience for rage bait or whatnot to really pay your bills. So I would tell people, do quality work that moves people, that touches people. You know, you're a horror guy. Just two days ago, I saw the film Hokum, and it was a director out of Ireland, and it's a quality film. It's like, it harkens back to like the old haunted house movies back in the day. And there's not a ton of CGI and there's not a ton of gore. There's a lot of shadows and scary sounds. It's an old school horror film, the kind of thing I would have grown up on, you know, as a kid. But a quality horror film will put that director on the map because people are seeing his or her artistry. And
well, that's what happened with Lee Cronin with The Hole. Lee Cronin, he's involved with the Evil Dead franchise now, and he just released The Mummy. Like, his first movie was The Hole, and it was low to medium budget, but obviously, like Sam Raimi saw something in him.
Yeah. A great horror movie, an indie film done on a small budget that actually is successful and generates money. That's your calling card to move on to bigger, better things, bigger budgets, you know, better distribution. The guy who did, you know, I'm not crazy about them, but the Terrifier films, you know,
Damien Leone.
The guy was a school teacher. He was a school teacher, but he, you know, he had this vision, and now it's a very successful, profitable franchise. And like, you know, just keep. And he had the courage to do something that was very different. You know, different. I wouldn't say they're masterpieces by any means, but
no, they're their own thing. I enjoyed the Ninth Circle is original short story anthology piece, and then All Hallows Eve, which was an anthology series. Great. The first Terrifier movie, really enjoyed. It was out there. It was something completely different. After that, the next two, it was like, whoa, oh dear. Have you painted yourself into a corner? You know, have you used up all your tricks?
Well, the thing is, once it becomes a franchise, it's like John Wick falling off the top of a building, and you go, he's not dead. You know, Art the Clown, as great an actor as he is and as great a character as he is, and I enjoy these films, he's going to come back. So he's doing these horrible things to these people. He goes unpunished, and the next movie, there he is doing it all over again. So the suspense is not exactly at a high level. You can enjoy it for what it is, but it's not ideal for me. But I can understand why people get into it.
Yeah, and I can flick between that. I can watch something super serious and then something really gauche like that and still get enjoyment. And once again, it's if somebody doesn't, I'm not going to slag them off and say, "Oh, you're a horrible person," because what's the? I'm trying to get away from that type of conversation. Of if you don't like what I like, I hate your guts, because it's crazy. It's mental.
Yeah.
And I think we need to get away from just get back to just having conversations and finding people interesting because there are differences, not this tribal, are you in my gang or not? And you must agree with every little thing I say and do. We've become too cult-like.
In America, we're so divided politically that people will disown family members if they vote differently.
That's why I just don't have that on the channel. That's one thing I refuse to discuss.
Yeah, not healthy. I agree with you. It's not healthy, and you could talk your face blue, and you're not going to change the other person anyway. So why even go there? I've sat at Thanksgiving dinners where families brutalize each other over politics here in America. And it's not pleasant. So you're doing the right thing by avoiding that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like there's a time and a place, and this isn't it. You know what I mean? That's like
you're doing a horror podcast, a film podcast. What do politics have to do with any of it?
Some movies can be, you know what I mean? That's like any genre. Some can have political backdrops, and that's fine. You can discuss it there, but I just hate the fact that permeates everything. And back again, the wrestling, the heel and the baby face, it's become that, like, just extended out into everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, come on, wise up, settle down, we don't need this.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Let's just pop the chat up. Welcome. Somebody's excited. Ari Daz 5112 over on YouTube. Good to see you on board. Oh, and there's Kodalex over on Twitch.
Hi.
Say hello. Yeah, a lot of people are like that. I think we could all learn from each other and our differences. Yeah, because that's what makes people interesting. If we're all the same, if we're all out of the same mold, that's boring.
Yeah.
Like, you'd nothing to talk about. Just okay. This is point number 22 on the list. Are we in agreement? Yes. Lockstep away. Yawn.
I mean, if you think Terrifier is great and I don't, it doesn't make you a moron. We have slightly different taste. I mean, what's the difference?
A movie like I stand by and I get some abuse for is Renfield, the Nicolas Cage one.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I've watched it about 3 or 4 times.
I enjoyed it very much. I'll tell you a Nicolas Cage story. So we're making The Wrestler, and we can't get the money that we wanted with Mickey Rourke. We couldn't get the budget because his star had waned. The Wrestler came out in 2008. So we go to meet Nicolas Cage, who at the time was a huge box office star in the 2000s. On top. I mean, the guy was on top. So Aronofsky sends me into this parking garage, underground parking garage. He says, go pick up Nicholas and get him backstage at this wrestling show without the paparazzi. So I was like the point man. So, the day before I'm teaching a class. Now here I am with one of the biggest movie stars in the world the next day. So for about 30 seconds, as we say in wrestling, I'm kind of marking out like here's this big movie star. And I happen to notice he's wearing a regular pair of jeans and a regular pair of shoes. And it hits me. He's just another guy. He's just another guy. He has a different career than I do. He's a movie star, and I'm not. Okay. And he couldn't be any nicer, more down to earth, So we're watching the wrestling. This was Ring of Honor, well-known group in America. And we're watching the wrestling, and all of a sudden he looks at me and he goes, Evan, is this real like MMA? And I go, no, no, it's pro wrestling, you know? So, so after the fact, I'm back at Aronofsky's studio in Brooklyn, Protozoa Studios, and Aronofsky goes to me, you know, I like Nick. He's a good guy, but he's a walking corporation. There's an agent, there's a manager, there's a hairstylist, there's a personal trainer. And he says, and Mickey Rourke, you know, he travels with one buddy who's like, you know, who helps him or whatnot. And he says, and Mickey's the right guy for the role. Mickey's the right guy. Mickey Rourke in the 80s, he did films like Diner, and he was in these huge hits. He was a big, big star. He walks away to get punched in the face as a boxer. This is utterly unheard of, okay? Yeah, you're a sex symbol, matinee idol. Your face is your living. He's getting punched in the face. So he looked the part. He looked like a beaten up wrestler, even though he was a boxer. And super nice guy also. I never saw him say no to an autograph or a picture with a fan. We traveled to all different wrestling events and such for research, strip clubs for research.
That was an interesting thing that was brought up. I don't know if it was an interview about the movie, but how the similarity between wrestlers and strippers.
Oh, yeah.
And how the two gravitate towards each other because they both use their bodies, so they both understand.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
That created a kinship.
I'll take it a step further. There's a scene in The Wrestler. There's an autograph scene at a convention. You go to any convention anywhere in the world. It could be London. It could be Manhattan. It doesn't matter. Anywhere in the world, the playing field is leveled. You have movie stars that haven't had a hit in a long time. You have TV stars who haven't had a hit in decades. You have rock stars who have seen better days. You have wrestlers, boxers, porn queens, so on down the line. It levels the playing field. Fame is fleeting. They're all sitting together. Why? They need the payday. And it's not a big payday either at these conventions for the most part, unless you're a William Shatner or somebody and you command a high fee. But for the most part, these quote unquote stars who had seen brighter days, fame is fleeting. And I'm sitting at a convention one day with Johnny Valiant, famous American wrestler who headlined Madison Square Garden. Who are we sitting next to? Seika, the porn queen. Like the biggest porn queen in America. So you have this wrestler who's like a very religious church-going guy. He's sitting next to this porn queen who now is, middle-aged and in a monogamous marriage. So it just levels the playing field. And you see the same people at different conventions. You become friendly or even friends with some of them. And so I've met horror stars at conventions, and and they were all there for a paycheck.
Somebody who has annoyed me recently by starting to appear at conventions is Patricia Arquette.
Yeah,
she was a star in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. She then refused to do part 4 because she was going to be basically the next Nancy. Oh God, now I forget flipping Nancy, the character's surname, but the next Nancy, right? The torch was going to be passed over, and she was like, "I don't want to be in horror movies. I don't want to be typecast." And now she's appearing on conventions using that as her hook, and I'm like, "Oh, you dirty mare! You shameless hussy! Go away!" Like,
but she's a hell of an actress, Patricia.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That that loss of integrity, as that snobbishness, because she was getting on or being famous, she would have been loved, absolutely beloved at this point. Because last convention I had a stall was right across from Robert England's signing bit, So yeah, it didn't do much business because everyone was just queuing
But
up to go and get their
there is
signatures.
there is a certain degree of legitimacy to being typecast because
Hmm.
Robert Englund's a hell of an actor, but 19 out of 20 times he's going to be off at horror roles as opposed to he's a dad with 3 kids. It's that's the danger sometimes of doing too much of the same thing. I mean, even on the production end, people associate me with wrestling. So a lot of the projects I end up doing are wrestling related. I did a documentary on wounded warriors, with the full cooperation of the American military.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not. It's not that you can't do other things, but once your name is connected to a certain genre, most of the offers you get, that's what's going to happen. So, I like everything. The truth is in the middle. I kind of understand where she's coming from because she could. I mean, she's a tremendous actress. She could do anything, and horror can be great horror. The Shining, isn't Terrifier 7. You know what I'm saying? You know. Yeah.
No. That's it's all a scale. I just find it the fact that she's appearing back after making that statement.
Yeah.
At the time, and then Nightmare on Elm Street 4 wasn't great. You know what I mean? And that was the downfall. It just went downhill from there, and you just can't help partially blaming her because it just felt so disjointed at the beginning of the next movie.
I understand.
And you're like, oh, is that the way it is? And then reappearing, but now he's starting to appear on the convention circuits where Robert Englund all the time, Kane Hodder, Doug Bradley, they have ground the circuit for ages.
I sat
so there's that respect there because they've always been prepared to do that. And then someone's jumping in and using the genre, the disavowed.
I understand. I sat at a convention with Kane Hodder. Hell of a nice guy. Nice guy. Yeah, I liked him. You're sitting there for hours or sometimes even entire weekends. And when there's lulls in the action, you're just sitting there talking to whoever's sitting next to you. Mm-hmm. And it happened to be Kane Hodder one day. And good guy.
Yeah, that's good to see people too. Now, you've mentioned a few times about being a producer and in production. It's one of these job titles that appears a lot with projects. I even have it myself on my LinkedIn for this. I call myself a producer because it just seems it just seems to fit, with all the background stuff. That this bit is the 10%, you know what I mean? But talk me through a typical day-to-day when you've got your producer hat on. What does that involve for people that may not be familiar? Because, like I said, you obviously associate producer, executive producer, assistant. You know what I mean? There's all levels of production. What's a day-to-day look like? And have you at different levels? Where does it change?
Oh yeah, well, if you're the producer and an executive producer, and your money is in the project, the pressure is on you. You have to make sure this film accomplishes what you want it to accomplish, quality-wise, and also to find an audience. Mm-hmm. As an associate producer, you're a hired hand working for someone else, and so, for example, I was basically the quote-unquote wrestling guy for the wrestler. Mm-hmm. I found Mickey Rourke's stunt double. The ring, his trainer. I did a half dozen casting calls with wrestlers who would be in the movie. There were roles that needed to be filled, and I said this wrestler would be right for the role. This one, and Aronofsky sometimes would hire them, and sometimes he saw things differently as a director. Evan, this guy's too small. Mickey's going to tower over him. Evan, this guy's too big. He's going to tower over Mickey. Mm-hmm. In that autograph scene, that painful autograph scene where the wrestlers all look down and out, and there's hardly any people. The wrestlers on hand, there were only 2 actual wrestlers, and one was Manny Yarborough, who was an 800-pound African-American sumo wrestler who wrestled for UFC, and the other one was Johnny Valiant. And Aronofsky thought, again, that they looked rough. They looked like they'd been through something.
Mhm.
I brought in a buddy of mine, Lanny Poffo, who was a top wrestler, Randy Savage's brother. Lanny Poffo headlined Madison Square Garden, and Aronofsky said to him, "You look like a game show host. You look too healthy. You look too," so he didn't fit.
Go get punched in the face 6 or 7 times. Come back to me.
Yeah. So I'm judging it as a wrestling fan, wrestling agent. This guy's a quality performer, and Aronofsky's judging it cinematically. Are you right for my vision of this film? So that's a long-winded way of saying, as an associate producer, you're getting the director and the crew what they need. It could be photographs, it could be videos, it could be an announcer with the right voice to lend credibility to something. Whatever it is, it could be an artist to design the poster. Whatever it is that the producers need, the associate producer, it's their job to come as close to the vision that they have as possible.
And I suppose that's something you can't really fit into a box. Like, you can't have the art producer, the casting producer, because life doesn't work like that. You just have to, like, you're all working towards the vision, so you just need to go. You just need to go out. Can't restrict yourself.
It's a team effort. The casting person and the wrestler, she knew actors. She didn't know wrestlers. So all of a sudden, I was like her right hand as far as getting the right wrestlers on board. And then Mickey's trainer, Afa, famous Samoan wrestler, Afa brought in some of his guys as well. So it's definitely a team effort. And when you're actually filming, and what people don't realize, the wrestler from start to finish was a 7-year process, multiple script rewrites and business meetings and casting calls, but then you shoot it in 7 5-day weeks, 35 days. That's it, but 7 years to get to that point where you have the money, you have the team, you have the right actors. I'm sitting with you're a film guy, you'll appreciate this. I'm sitting with Aronofsky in his office. He has these little index cards, like standard index cards. He has the actor's name and their price on the card. And he says, "Evan, you could get 3 TV stars for the price of 1 movie star." And that this is part of how you're limited. You have $6 million. Every dollar is accounted for. And then he's like, "I would have loved to have Aronofsky says to me, I would have loved to have had Angelina Jolie play the stripper, but she would be the entire budget."
Yeah. Gone.
So you're working with not only trying to do the right film with the right talent, but what you can afford to do. And it's an interesting process. Yep. It's not an easy process.
Does it irritate you when you see, because I would say the main Hollywood machine, like the superhero stuff and all, has become like the civil service. Like, they expect the money just to be there, and they treat it with the same disdain as like a government employee would, rather than a business owner. And you see all this money getting spaffed up the wall in reshoots and recasting and projects getting dropped, and all this money wasted on low quality products, which an independent or a small budget creator would absolutely die for 1/10 of that or 100th of it.
Again, if you have a franchise and they're going to throw, $100 million, $200 million or whatnot at you, then you have the freedom to do whatever you want. And sometimes that's not good. There's an indie filmmaker, Kelly Reichardt. She did a film called Wendy and Lucy, basically on pennies. I think it's the best film of the century. It's so deeply moving. Michelle Williams, great actress, who will do indie work for next to nothing because she believes in a project. She plays a character. She's broke. She has a beaten up old car and a dog. That's all she has. And then the car breaks down and it sets off this chain of events. And it's so heart wrenching. And it's done on nothing, a budget. And Kelly Reichardt has done probably 21, 22 films at this point, and not getting rich from any of them. And she teaches film at the university level. And there's no shame in filmmakers having a, regular gig like that. And
You gotta. I have a part-time job. You have to keep the lights on. Do you know what I mean? That's reality. And if once again, people get into the creative sphere thinking they're going to click a button and it's all going to come to them, and they don't have to work again. It's like,
yeah.
nah, 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 nah. Way to get the reality. Bills still need to be paid. You still need a roof over your.
Friend of mine just the other day, I was working with him. His name is Edwin Vasquez. Did a beautiful film called Brownsville Bred. He was the music director. Shot on 500,000. 500. That's nothing for a movie, believe me. So, so he does this film, and he has side gigs. It's even though the film is great, it got critical acclaim, it got seen, it's on various platforms, Tubi, etc. Nobody's getting rich from it. And Mickey Rourke didn't get rich from The Wrestler. Marissa Tomei didn't get rich from The Wrestler. I didn't get rich from The Wrestler. But 100 years from now, people will watch that film because his performance is beautiful. Beautiful.
Like I said, as a non-wrestling fan and even as a primarily horror fan, I enjoyed that movie. Like I genuinely got something from it, just a peek behind the curtains of the actual life.
Yeah.
That not the big stars, but you can always see the apex of the pyramid, the big stars, but it's everybody underneath just trying to make their way. And yeah, it'll give you a good unfiltered snapshot, and warts and all. It isn't all glamorous. It's it's a hard life, and I got that, but also got the idea of camaraderie, brotherhood, and people just trying to lift each other up. And God, that's always a good thing to let people see, that it doesn't matter what station of life you are, if you've got the right people around you, or if you've got the right mentality, and it's all about lifting people up instead of turning them down, you could do amazing things. And yeah, we'll not all get rich, but it means living a full life. I would rather live a full life, because you see so many stars and they're empty. These super rich, isolated people, and God, we saw it over the last 10 years. Like, they are very unhappy people.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't like to be that. You couldn't pay me enough money to be that.
I just saw a documentary on Hulk Hogan, who also was an actor. He was in a bunch of B movies in the 80s, and also Rocky 3, which was excellent.
Thunderlip, Thunderlips.
Yeah.
God,
yeah. And that movie really helped put him on the map. But he was tortured in his own way. You watch the documentary, you can make all kinds of money, but if your marriage collapses and you're estranged.
And he was the meme. Let's be honest. That's the meme wrestler right there.
Yeah. So my point being, you could have all the success in the world. It doesn't guarantee you happiness. There's a scene in the documentary where he basically is like drinking himself to death and contemplating suicide. So, money doesn't necessarily buy you happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing this show. You're doing it the way you want to do it. This is your art. This is your canvas. And if you make some money at it, great. But if you don't live off of it, so what? You're enjoying it. You're meeting interesting people. It's a creative outlet.
I left the corporate world about 6-7 years ago. I'm done with the corporate world, and I've never been happier. Yeah, I struggle sometimes, but leaving all that behind just for a nice, safe paycheck and a job title to go, stick the nose up in the air, not interested.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
No, I get
it's
it.
About trying to, have a purpose, having integrity, to yourself. Once you get compromised with your own personal integrity, that's it. Game over.
Yeah, they say 4 out of 5 Americans hate their jobs, and there's about a 43% divorce rate.
Mhm.
And if you hate your job and then you go home to someone you hate, that's not a great existence.
No.
So,
They're the fellow New Yorker on Sergeant Shenanigator. Check out the Midnight Signal podcast, folks. Just recently they had a live investigation in their own house for a ghost, so that was cool with Madame Ophelia. So good podcast. They're just started this year as well. They're doing great. They're once again, that was our one.
And it's nice that you guys support each other, because sometimes podcasters feud with each other.
Well, that's what I was saying at the start of this. I found out through the grapevine that a lot of big YouTubers who I stopped following because they were boring me all had a big fallout over stuff. And like they're all like proper going at each other. And you're like, nah, I'm good. That's the only thing that would put me off becoming like a massive, top 10% podcaster, because I see the bitching that goes on just because you exist, and you're just like, why?
Because
Why?
they're consumed by it, and it becomes their identity. I'm the host of this show or whatnot. And I had a podcaster say, quote, I'm not paraphrasing, quote, I hope you have a terrible death. Can you imagine? Because we disagree on pro wrestling. And I, as an adult, feel sorry for somebody that angry, that all consumed by this. That's not healthy. It's just not healthy.
Yeah, I could be hyperbolic at times, especially when talking about Uncle Ridley there. I can really go off on one. But at the same time, what's so funny? It's like, yeah, okay, that was funny, and get on with my life. I don't see the point. And hate watching, that's a strange phenomena. That's only like people that absolutely despise somebody, but they'll watch everything they do. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Go watch somebody you like and make yourself happy. Don't sit and wind yourself up.
Exactly. It becomes all consuming, and it's not healthy.
That's right. Don't forget, folks, go over to Krypton Fright as well. Give them a like and subscribe. Luna's starting up a brand new project, and yeah, we're obviously going to be on it. Chris and I are going to be on it, and yeah, looking forward to that there. Getting to talk about some more. We're going to start off with Guillermo del Toro and go through his whole catalog as a series. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, I've 5 co-hosts with other things, and they keep me in check. If I'm very conscious doing this about keeping my head grounded. Also, having a part-time job as well means I'm actually in the human world, dealing with people, and not everybody. Like, I never surround myself with sycophants. Like, it's funny because everyone that comes on disagrees with me about something. There's no consensus, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Imagine just being in an echo chamber and just hearing people like falling over you.
Well, that's part of the problem today. People consume the news they want to consume, and thus it becomes an echo chamber. And look, I have friends who vote differently. I have friends who live differently. I have folks, and I love them. I don't, you don't have to agree on everything. I'm a Jewish kid from Brooklyn. My wife's a Christian from Korea. We come from different worlds, different religions, and we love each other. Sometimes differences, attract. It's you don't have to agree on everything.
Korea has really smashed it with their movies over the last 10 years. They've really come to the fore. Like, some amazing Korean cinema out there.
My brother-in-law is a famous Korean movie star. Han Fa Kim.
Ah, cool. There you go.
Yeah. He's done. He did a wild movie, The Terror Live. He's this guy's on hit TV. He was on some hit TV show. I don't know the title. It was in Korean. We were watching it on Netflix. All of a sudden, his character is sick and in the hospital. So my wife and I are watching it different from anybody else. We're like, keep him alive, because every show he's on, it's another paycheck.
Yeah, it's like, that's another week's work.
Yeah, exactly. So
what was that Michael Caine quote about Jaws 3? They always say,
House.
just
Let him his
yeah,
house.
he
Yeah.
bought his mother's house with it, so it's a lovely movie.
Yeah.
I remember the house I bought my mother, so yeah, it's a brilliant movie.
Let me say something about that, though. Okay, so Michael Caine in the 60s, even into the 70s, was doing great work. You know, if you go too far to the other end just for a paycheck, see Liam Neeson, Eddie Murphy, and others. Once you start going too far in the other direction, it does affect your legacy. It really does. Dustin Hoffman did an interesting interview where he said, "I regret the bad films I did for a paycheck because that's your legacy after you're gone." So, it's like walking a tightrope. You could take that one or two paychecks, but after a while, how many times you're going to watch Liam Neeson shoot somebody? The guy's a quality actor. He shouldn't be just doing action films. It's
a strange turn up.
Yeah.
And then I have to say though, I thought I was going to hate the new Naked Gun that came out, but I actually didn't mind it. It was funny, and I was really surprised how good Pamela Anderson was in it. I was not expecting anything from her, and she actually just embraced it. And
I'm glad you said that. Glad you said that, because one of the best movies I've seen recently, The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson. Indie film. She plays a dancer in Vegas, topless dancer, and estranged from her daughter. And the daughter comes finally. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it's a beautiful film. It's very heartfelt. And her ex in the film is Dave Bautista, who was in WWE, a wrestler. So I'm sitting there going, the last thing I ever expected in this lifetime is to be sitting watching Pamela Anderson and Dave Bautista and thinking to myself, these two are quality actors. And they are. They are. It's a great film. Last Showgirl. Also,
there's two people who've been typecast.
Yeah.
I managed to break out of it. So,
and Pamela Anderson was funny in that Naked Gun. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I'm like, bloody hell, fair play to you. And she just the self-depreciating humor and just let go, embraced the role, and went for it. And once again, none of this uppity business about her. I'm like, yep, I'll support you. Cool.
Yeah, that jazz number that she was like scat singing in, that was very funny. Very funny. I'm a jazz fan. I appreciated it.
Talking of like indie cinema and that, you've obviously this book's coming out. You're mentioning a lot about Grindhouse cinema. I was actually from talking to Tony, that are really maybe just being a foreigner, but understand that Grindhouse isn't just an art form. It was actually a type of cinema. It was actually a cultural phenomenon. Were you aware of that growing up, or was it just something that happened?
Yeah. I grew up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, tough neighborhood, and the former art houses have now become grindhouse theaters where you would see double and triple features. Usually, it was a kung fu movie on top and an old spaghetti western, as the second feature, and we would also get a lot of Hammer horror come in, Toho. Godzilla and Mothra and Gamera and etc. so on, and a lot of European Eurocrime, and guys like Lee Van Cleef would go over there, Tony Musante, so we would see all these Grindhouse films. I mean, the real center of Grindhouse was 42nd Street, Square back in the day. But even in the boroughs, outside of Manhattan, like Brooklyn and Queens, we had our Grindhouse theaters. So I grew up on Shaw Brothers Kung Fu and Golden Harvest Kung Fu and spaghetti westerns and Lucio Fulci and Dario Argento, and I love these films. And as a kid, you didn't have any, you had no film snobbery. in you. You just appreciated these
Yeah,
films. This is
you had a good time or you didn't. That was it.
yeah. And I love spaghetti westerns because the lines between good and evil were blurred. It was like Clint Eastwood would just as well shoot you between the eyes as, turn the other cheek. It was a different take on things,
Yeah. Even what, Two Mules for Sister Mary? That was, even then you didn't know if he was going to join in or what. Didn't know what his game was when he first encountered her with the bandits.
Sergio Leone, who directed a lot of Eastwood's classic spaghetti westerns, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a masterpiece. And and we would sit there as kids and we'd be like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And as a kid, when I say kid, you're 12 years old, whatever, everything was about being cool. And Clint Eastwood was cool, and Bruce Lee was cool, and Sonny Chiba was cool, and Billy Jack. I don't know if you're up on the Billy Jack movies, but
not familiar. Or maybe even name a couple of my.
This guy Tom Laughlin, he made it. He was a indie filmmaker. John Cassavetes would have been proud of him. He did it. He raised the money. He starred in it. He was the producer, the director, the whole deal. Tom Laughlin, his name was. And he did a bunch of these Billy Jack movies where he was, half Indian. And these rednecks would, stress his tribe. And they were very, racist. And so there's a scene in the original Billy Jack, and I write about this in my book. He says to the bad guy, I am about to kick you in your face, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And like 2 seconds late, and the guy like smirks at him because he has all his hoods around him, and he's like, you can't do anything to me. And then Billy Jack just kicks him in the face. And as a 12-year-old, this is like the greatest thing you've ever seen. This is Citizen Kane to a 12-year-old. So, I love Grindhouse films, and I was weaned on them. And, to this day, I'll watch a blaxploitation film, Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Pam Grier. I'll watch, European horror, like I said, Argento, Lucio Fulci, whoever. If I'm in the mood to basically shut my brain off for 90 minutes or whatnot and just enjoy something over the top crazy. And what I find interesting is that in 2026, many of these films are being shown in museums like Museum of Modern Art and, major, film festivals and Museum of the Moving Image, and people are looking at them differently because guys like Tarantino look at them differently and say, this is art also.
Yeah. One of my co-hosts, Cameron, and I, we're going through the Trauma movies at the moment, the Class of Newcomb High series, and you can actually see the first three were Kaufman, and you can see the vibe. You can see everybody on the cast wanted to be there. Now we're about to do the part 2 of the Return to Newcomb High, the ones that were made later on. You can tell it's not true. Everyone's there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, watch the first part of it, and everyone's just there because it's their job. And
well, it's good.
The heart isn't there. It screams at you from across the screen that you're just like, nobody's here because they want to be. That vibe, that energy.
It's good in 2026 that there is a paycheck with Trauma, because some of those early films, like, nobody was getting paid for them.
No, but they were all there. They wanted to be there. You could feel the energy in the films. And that's what I mean. Even the Toxic Avenger ones and all, you can actually see that, nobody's getting paid for this. People are doing this voluntarily. In fact, people have probably paid money to be there.
Yeah, I enjoyed Trauma. It was over the top,
But that's what I'm just saying. That's an example of, what would be considered slop. But if you look at it from a critical eye, you can see that these people are making something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And like I said, translate that across to the mainstream Hollywood stuff, all this cape and cow nonsense, and they're spending what $250 million minimum on a movie,
And it could
and
be
then and
crap.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's just lifeless.
Roger Corman died not that recently, not that long ago, I should say. And he there was like a full page obit in the New York Times, honoring him as a filmmaker. So you could do quote unquote grindhouse or horror or whatever, and years later it's perceived as art, and rightfully so. I'm not saying all of it, but if your heart is in it and it's something different and people are entertained, I don't want to see just another superhero movie where I feel nothing through the entire 3-hour slog or whatnot. If I see a superhero movie that touches me, like a Spider-Man movie, some of the characters, Iron Man, it's from the heart, but some of it's just a product. It's like
like you've forgotten the movie before you even leave the cinema.
My mother used to say, quote, "It was a piece of fluff. I forgot about it the next morning."
Yeah.
And some of those superhero movies are.
Yeah, and you get that in horror too, like the Scream franchise. I always tell a story, like I just find it funny. The kids today are like, "This is our franchise. We own it." And like, I was there when it first came out. Shut up, you know what I mean? But I remember I went to see the first one. It was all right. It was interesting. The second one, I still can't tell you what that movie was about. I walked out. I'd forgotten the movie before it even left.
Yeah.
It just, that was it. And after that, I never went back. I'm like, nah,
Becomes the law of diminishing values. I found that with the Halloween series. They never touched the original. The original, I saw the original in a theater, and I write about it in my book. It was one of the great experiences in a movie theater. People were jumping out of their seats. You didn't know if Laurie was going to survive because it wasn't, volume 8 or whatnot. It was people were screaming, literally screaming and jumping out of their chairs, and it was magic to see Carpenter's original Halloween in the theater. And a great horror. Dawn of the Dead's one of my favorite movies.
Gonna go back further to Tigler with Vincent Price.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, people were traumatized coming out of that movie.
Yeah. Vincent Price, Theater of Blood was great.
That was hilarious.
Great. Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. So again, Vincent Price did some schlock horror and he did some brilliant horror. So the film snobbery bothers me. I mean, just because something isn't what you enjoy doesn't mean it's trash. I'm sorry. I see these, you have all these film pages on social media and you see people just attacking film, just attacking it. Like, what's the point? I mean, aren't you here because you love film and you want to? Yep. I love to turn people on to quality indie films or grindhouse films, whatever the case may be, that they may not have experienced, and
I always go by the rule: if I like something, I explain why I like it.
Yeah.
If I don't like something, I explain why. But I'll never say to somebody, unless I feel like there's no effort being put in. But I don't believe just because I don't like it doesn't mean that somebody else won't. I get quite a few screeners for indie movies, and anyone that does know me understands it'll be a fair review. I'm not an access media type person or looking to grift and get on the guest list and all that kind of nonsense.
Right.
I'm just here to talk about movies, and I surprise people because there'd be a movie I really like, and they're like, "Wouldn't think you would like that." I'm like, but I felt it when I watched it. I felt like the creators wanted me to have fun, wanted me to enjoy myself, and you can't really quantify that. It's a hard one. You can't distill that down into numbers. You can't put it on a spreadsheet. That comes from the creative vision,
yeah,
which is down to the individual.
And as the reviewer, as the critic, you should call it down the middle. It's only fair.
Because you're a critic yourself as well. That's one of your roles.
Yeah. I saw a film just the other day. It's called Is God Is. It's an indie film, and it's pretty close to Grindhouse because even though it's very artfully done, the father sets the mother on fire, an abusive husband, and the babies get burned as well. And 20 years later, the mother says to the daughters, who are now, young adults, quote, "Make dad dead." And they go off on a revenge mission to kill their father. And it's gory, but this is a quality film, believe me. It's called Is God Dead? So the line between
I'll have to look that one up.
the line between Grindhouse and Arthouse is, blurry at this point because it's brutally violent and bloody. But the actor Sterling K. Brown, who was in This Is Us, a very popular show in America, it's as great a villain as you're ever going to see. As great a villain. I mean, he sets his wife on fire and then calmly smokes a cigarette, like
Do you know what year that came out?
What's that?
Do you know what year that came out?
This year. It's
this year. Yeah, because I'm just saying, because I know if I type in "Is God Dead," it's just gonna, Google's gonna go.
No. It's called Is God Is.
Sorry, I thought you said Is God.
Yeah.
Is God Is, right. Sorry,
It's a tremendous film, and my point being, it could qualify as Grindhouse or Arthouse because it's rough. It's rough, yeah.
No, cool. That's once again, it's all about your reaction to it. If you don't like it, you'd say, "Oh, it's Grindhouse. It's just been thrown out there." If you get something from it, I'm not gonna even go from day. You could watch a movie like one day and be in a particular sort of mood and not get it, and then be in a different mood and then pick up the pieces that you'd missed the first time. It's so interesting.
See, what critics don't admit is they bring their own biases into watching the film. A film could be politically one way, politically the other way. I personally get tired of, all men are dogs, all men are no good, because I'm a married guy who's never cheated on his wife, So you have your own biases when you're watching a film, and
I don't like being preached to. I hate blanket statements, and I hate that. I hate being sneered at just because they exist, and I don't like that. It doesn't matter what side it's on, whatever else. If it's a snarky, nasty vibe to it, I'm out. I'm instantly switching off.
What I find fun, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm sitting at a film festival, and they have a panel of young female critics, and they're talking about Marvel's The Eternals, and I don't know if you saw it, superhero.
Oh, God, I watched. I think I got as far as Iron Man 3 before I checked out.
Yeah.
What was the one, the Infinity thing? After that, I was definitely out. I was like, it's all these movies. I'd already lost interest.
Right.
And in fact, the one the part 2 of that, I was actually given free tickets for, and I still didn't want to go.
Right.
Not just free tickets, but there's free popcorn and like a little gift bag when you went in, and I still didn't want to go. And I'm like, but my wife at the time, she would look bad in work if I didn't, so I had to go. And I just was not interested. And was that before or after that? Or is that during that time?
It was like 2023 or
so. Right about then, I was already checked out.
Right. So I'm sitting at this film festival, and the three women are proclaiming this absolutely mediocre film a masterpiece. Why, pray tell? They said it's a female director, there's a lesbian kiss, and there's what was the third thing? It was a totally diverse cast, and I'm like, I'm down with all of that. I'm good with all of that, but it doesn't make it a great movie because you checked off all the boxes that you were looking at personally, politically. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the thing. They try to bring that stuff into horror, and they try to say this is what horror is, but as a horror fan, you want to hear. We love stories. We love folktales. That's where horror originates from, the folktales around the campfire. So I want to hear what the type of folktale is up the top of a Tibetan mountain. I want to hear what the folktale is in the middle of the Amazon. It doesn't matter. And I think that's one thing horror's always done. Like the most random tale. If you've got a culture and you've got a evil spirit or a monster, we want to hear about it. And that's always been the case. And when these people start that, you're like, nah, go away. You know what I mean? You're not telling us anything new. It's odd.
I was watching the reboot of Candyman, and so preachy. It was so preachy,
I hate. In fact, I need more voodoo dolls because Jordan Peele and David Gordon Green need to go up there beside Uncle Ridley, because talk about up their own backsides, and in the end they make crap. Like
Jordan Peele, they actually, in the advertising for his movies, they go, from the mind of Jordan Peele. How pretentious.
Yeah.
I mean, where is it? Where would it be otherwise? From his asshole? I mean, come on.
Well, actually, the Candyman sequel / remake was from his ass, I think.
I mean, come on.
You know what pissed me off, actually, right? He claims to be this, I'm all about empowering people stuff. He did Tony Todd dirty in that movie, and that's what angered me. A massive, love Tony Todd, absolute, may rest in peace. Absolute gentleman, absolute artist. I don't think he's ever done a bad role. He's always given 100%.
Great, tremendous.
Right. What did they give him? They gave him a shitty half-a-second CGI scene. They didn't even bring him on. And he was still making movies because The Final Wish came out like a year after. Full role. He's done like loads of movies since, right up to Final Destination Bloodlines, his final role. He's still actively working. And what did he do? He put him in as a fucking CGI thing. And he couldn't have written him in, even as older. Candyman's losing his powers. That's why he wanted his son to regenerate. There are 100 ways he could have wrote Tony Todd into that movie with respect that he claims to have.
Ageism,
And he didn't do it because he's a dick. Sorry, like I said, but I do get passionate. I have no respect for Jordan Peele whatsoever. That man can fall off a cliff and I wouldn't be upset. Not that I wish him anything, but if I found out tomorrow, I'd just think, yeah, I will. What a shame.
Sometimes these guys get the quote unquote genius tag, and
no,
it's like you're the idiot if you don't like something they do, but sometimes it's not a masterpiece. It's just not.
Yeah, because people learned that from wrestling, how to talk like that.
Yeah.
Had to get the thing in, couldn't resist. Let's talk about your book, Grindhouse, Arthouse and Wrestling Flicks. So this is just out. Is this your personal journey or your personal professional journey? What way you tackling this, going through these type of movies?
I subtitle this My Lifelong Love Affair with the Movies. And like I said, ever since I was a kid in Brooklyn, my parents, who are both gone now, would take me to the movies, and going to the theater was a big thing back then. The theaters would be packed. The tickets were cheap. Today you go to a movie, and I've sat in movie theaters where it felt like a private screening. I was the only person in there.
Mm-hmm.
You go during the day, if there's 20 people, there's a lot. Usually there's under 10. So back in the day, to see a great movie in a theater, and I write about some of these experiences, seeing Death Wish in a crime-ridden New York of the 1970s. There's Charles Bronson shooting down muggers, and rapist, and the whole audience is cheering. This is a communal experience, whether you agree with the politics or not. It was an exciting experience to see Halloween, to see Eraserhead, David Lynch at
God, that's the one from Blast from the Past Day.
Yeah, with weed wafting through the theater, and you're getting a contact high, and you're watching this bizarre movie, and it's 2 a.m. Rocky Horror sitting in the theater, and they're acting it out. And there's Tim Curry, as great a performance as you're ever going to see in a movie. And I write about all these incredible. Seeing Bruce Lee for the first time fighting Chuck Norris in Return of the Dragon in the Roman Colosseum, fight to the death. And we're cheering like it's Ali Frazier. Speaking of which, seeing the original Rocky in the theater. So part of the book, not all of it, is these experiences in theaters that were magic. The original Die Hard, where you didn't know if Bruce Willis was going to live. It was, magic, some of these experiences. And then I have hundreds of mini reviews of great indie films, great horror films, Westerns, by category. It's not meant to be all encompassing. I have Andy Milligan in there. I have Herschel Gordon Lewis in there, but I don't have every film they ever made. That wasn't the purpose of the book. It was to give people a smorgasbord of, different things that they could experience. Some of the indie films, for example, the movie Once about street musicians in Ireland, a beautiful film. The Life of Chuck. Did you see The Life of Chuck?
Oh, the new one with Tom Hiddleston? I haven't seen that yet.
What a beautiful.
That's been on the list, and I need to get around yet.
Beautiful film.
I've got this ever-encompassing list, but
trust me, you'll cry your eyes out. And I'm watching this film, and the credits roll. I didn't even realize it was a Stephen King film. It was a Stephen King.
Yeah, it's based on.
I had no idea, because
the Green Mile did the same thing. Took everybody by surprise.
Oh yeah, the Green Mile, and you're watching The Life of Chuck, and it has a hint of supernatural in it, but it felt more like It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, James Stewart, and great film, and a lot of people have not seen it. So my intention is to turn people on to great films that may not be on their radar, or they may not have gotten to it yet. To this day, I watch something from 30, 40, 50 years ago that I've never seen. There's so many films out there that I'm grateful sometimes to catch something that fell under my radar. It's so I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel as a film critic. They're little mini reviews to give you the taste of what the film is without spoilers. And,
but are you dotting them? There's not like a review section. Are you dotting them with your sort of personal story? Is that?
Oh no, it's a combination of both. I tell my personal stories, but there's also hundreds of reviews in there, and there's also sections on wrestlers turned actors, like The Rock, like Roddy Piper.
Oh my God, that scene in They Live.
They Live is great.
That put on the glasses, and then just turned to this insane thing in an alleyway. You're like, why? And then, they're both wrestlers. Okay, that's why it's over the top. It's bonkers. Yeah. But in that movie, it worked. It was just so ridiculous. You're like,
okay. Piper did a film, Hell Comes to Frogtown.
My God, yes. Oh, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, Piper was not a bad actor, but he did a lot of schlock along the way. Again, you have to pay the bills. But
those costumes in that movie.
Yeah. That was over the top.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But you can enjoy it. It's enjoyable because it's so out there.
Yeah. That's once again, it's all down to the tent, isn't it? I think that's been lost lately. film or even art hasn't been made for the audience. It's been made for people's making stuff for their peers now. I've seen it with writing as well. A lot of indie writers, for example, are just writing for other authors and not for readers. And there's this pretentiousness coming in, and people are more worried about getting the right formatting than actually telling a nice story.
Yeah.
If you're not using this particular font because that's the standard, that we've all decided in this little group, and you can't be in our gang if you use 12-point font instead of 10-point font,
Yeah. No,
it's actually, there's a level of ridiculousness to it, and it's actually detracting from just tell a story.
what I find ridiculous is I've written 3 books and I'm not a kid. Somebody will say, I put out 25 books. Like, the AI, the whole deal.
God.
I mean, they're pumping out product. I want to
I'm a slow writer. I am excruciatingly slow because it's just getting that, and you have to set time aside. And if you set time aside, it means you're not doing other things. And it's all about a balance. And yeah, like a short story will take me a couple of weeks just to get it, where people bang those out in like 2 days. And
it should be like that. My favorite book is called The House on Mango Street, Sandra Cisneros. And it's that rare book that could be read by children, teenagers, because the narrator is a teenager, adults, English second language students, college students. It's universal, like Mark Twain. Anybody could read it on whatever level you are and savor it because it's beautiful, moving, deeply moving writing. So if I'm going to write something, I want it to be meaningful. I'm not doing it. I don't need 25 books generating income. I want to do whatever is meaningful to me and hopefully to the reader. I have a piece in this book, for example, America, New York City in particular, got hit hard 9/11. 9/11. The city was shut down, basically. We had military on the streets, and 2, 3 in the morning, you would see the World Trade Center still smoldering months later. It was like a scene out of a bad horror movie or sci-fi movie. And I wrote a piece a couple of months later, under intense security. They opened up Radio City Music Hall, one of the most famous venues in the world, and they showed the original West Side Story. And the only way I could explain it, it was like we had been let out of prison because basically New York was shut down for the most part. And there we are seeing this incredible masterpiece of a film. The original cast was there. It was the anniversary of the film. I forget. I believe it was originally done in 1961. So just to be there in this communal experience, even with the security, with the fear that we could be attacked again by terrorists, sitting in this theater, and they're singing songs like America, and it was moving to be there. And, you want to write things that touch people. And any American can tell you where they were on 9/11 because it was so traumatic. It was so traumatic.
It's interesting. I might have some experience of that growing up where I grew up.
And the movie Belfast is a beautiful movie. Did you see the movie Belfast?
No, because Kenneth Branagh, he's chasing accolades and he trying to dress over it. And of course, it was all one side's fault, as usual.
Okay, but I'm just
get a bit sick of that. You know what I mean?
As a person who does not have expertise on the politics, just as a pure film, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, I stayed out because he annoyed me because he was talking a lot of guff before it came out. So
I don't know the politics. I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I said. Try to keep that off because it's But like I said, that constant threat and army patrolling the streets. You know what I mean? That's how I grew up. So
Yeah. So you can relate to it. But that's the thing, a great film is universal. West Side Story was shot on the streets of New York.
Yep.
You could watch that tonight and be moved by it,
That's why I got into film in the first place, because that was escapism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You were able to just step away to another world. That's why I was fantasy, horror, it was escapism.
And West Side Story technically is British because it comes from Romeo and Juliet.
Mhm.
Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So, yeah.
Yeah, just once again got inspiration, tweaked it a little. You could almost say Grease was almost Romeo and Juliet as well, a bit. The not as extreme, but with the gangs and that, and
Grease.
yeah. You can almost see the inspiration there too. The star-crossed lovers across the divide. It's one of them universal stories, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but nobody's getting stabbed to death in Grease.
Yeah,
yeah. Grease. Americans love Grease. I think West Side Story is a much better movie, but
yeah, it is. Like it took me about 30 years before I even watched Grease for the first time. It was one of them. It was always in the zeitgeist. Never had an interest in watching it, and then finally caved in one day. That was it.
It's upbeat. The music's good. Yeah, the performances are good. Travolta was a big deal.
Yeah. What was Evan's favorite horror movie as a kid?
Yeah, my favorite horror movie has always been Dawn of the Dead. Romero's original Dawn of the Dead. The sequel, the reboot wasn't bad, the remake, but Romero's Dawn of the Dead, when they're coming into the mall, and it's just brilliant.
Just even the setup in the middle, they made it a life for themselves, and they actually made it happy for a minute. And it was until the gang came in, Anyways, I thought the remake, it didn't have that level of we're making things do, we're happy, we could wait it out here. There's always that tension, you're just waiting for it to go wrong, because I think of too many people in the cast with the remake.
Yeah, the remake didn't touch the original, but it was not a bad film by any means.
No, I enjoyed it, and they brought it to Max, like the whole thing with the radio and the guy across the shop and stuff. That was interesting, but I think it just had, because of the larger ensemble of cast at the start, where it's basically just a couple, and in the original, more intimacy. So if you were just like one or two people and you had an entire mall, you could see yourself living it out. But of course, that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. I like the way they made them different as well. It didn't just do reboot, just didn't do beat for beat the original movie. Like they did take it a different direction.
Yeah, I love Romero in general. Martin.
Martin, that's an absolute classic. Great. I think that was my first, believe it or not, I think that was my first Romero movie.
Night Riders is tremendous with Ed Harris. You ever see Night Riders?
Yeah, I probably have.
They're
you've watched. I think you're in the same boat when you've watched so many movies. You try to recall them like straight away.
You would remember Night Riders because it's really.
Oh yeah, give me a scene or something like. Oh yeah, I have seen this.
They're living by the code of the Middle Ages of the knights, but it's modern times and society's messed up, which is like a running theme in Romero.
Oh God, yes. Ed
Harris is a tremendous actor, and it's Night Riders is a great film, and I enjoyed all of Romero's zombie films. Night of the Living Dead's great also, and even Day of the Dead and Land of the Dead. This guy, again, it's from the heart. It's from the heart.
And his had a political slant.
Oh yeah.
But you didn't get beaten over the head with it, and you were left. You didn't feel like you had to pick sides. It was an observation of how things went, but you didn't feel like you were being pushed into, if you don't support everything I say, you can't watch my movies. There was none of that nonsense.
Right.
But there's always been political messaging in various movies if they decide to go there, but it's all about the intensity. And once again, are you trying to just make something for your own little peer group, or do you want something to be universal? And how do you bring somebody across? Is you open yourself to them. You don't go, I hate you. You know, that's not how you convince anybody. It's strange times we live in. That's why I
Yeah,
don't get it.
I think of movies as I have. It's called Regal Unlimited. You know, you pay a monthly fee. You could go as much as you want. I don't know if you guys have that there.
Oh yeah. Like the Odeon, I've got the
Yeah.
pass. You know,
Right.
yeah.
So, you know, I think of going to the movies, which I love to do, as an escape from the bombardment of bad news and people brutalizing each other on social media and, you know, the tribalism. I want to get away from it. So I don't want to be, you know, pounded with the political stuff when I'm sitting in the theater. I mean, if it's a politically themed movie, that's different. But if you're watching,
And if you know that from the start, you can choose to go or not go.
yeah. But to sit there in a horror movie or a superhero movie and you're getting pounded with the political stuff.
A24 is terrible for that.
What's that?
A24, the movie studio.
Oh, A24.
They're terrible for that.
They put out some great movies. They put out Kelly Reichardt's films, a lot of them. You know, they've done some great work too, but sometimes they could be heavy-handed, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
Yes. And even if you agree, it doesn't matter. If someone's obnoxious, you just do. It's all about the delivery. And sometimes the delivery is just so obnoxious, you're like, nah, go away, stop it.
Yeah, you want to go and escape and you know, get away from it's like sensory overload. Even a day in front of a computer screen, bad things are happening, and you know, let me go to a movie and enjoy myself.
Yeah, people don't understand that I can happily leave my phone in another room and leave it and switch it off and not be contactable. I think I'm one of the last generation that can do that.
Yeah.
I've seen I deal with a lot of younger people like work experience and stuff for various things, and it's like the DTs, if they don't have that thing in front of them,
oh yeah,
you know, they start shaking and they're like zombies themselves. They just don't know how to operate. It's like you just watch somebody have a meltdown. Like you say, no, leave the phone. You go out the back, but they just can't.
It's an addiction like anything else. I have a friend, he just sits there and he shows you thousands of pictures and your eyes are rolling in your head. You know, it's he's a good guy, but it's an addiction. And it's at some point, how about having a conversation like me and you are having, and two adults having a conversation rather than staring at a phone? I've seen people on podcasts, they're being interviewed. You can see they're typing and they're looking at something else. Not listening. You're interviewing the guy. And they're looking at something on the computer. You could see them. You know, the body language.
Yeah. Every so often we have a little gaming group. We do role-playing games. We're currently playing one horror game called Chill at the moment, but things like the Alien role-playing game, Call of Cthulhu, things like that. And there's one in particular, we'll call him out. He's like watching videos. You're like, why aren't you listening? Just because it's not your turn yet, you have to listen to what everyone else is doing, or else you don't know what to do. And yeah, that was just. And if somebody's running the game, they've put a lot of effort into reading up the scenario if they haven't written it themselves, making sure all the screens are ready and the counters and stuff you can do on screen. That's a lot of work. And the players dictate. It's like telling a story. You know, it's more of a storytelling than actually playing a game. So the players dictate where the story goes. So you might have it laid down, but characters just go. Like if you're writing a character, you know yourself, it's just the character will take you somewhere else. You're like, oh, I didn't want to go there, but here we are. So if you're sitting watching videos on another screen, then
not polite.
You're not even involved. Then why bother?
I'll tell you, if I'm at a dinner table or lunch or whatnot, and it's a younger friend, I'll actually say to them, you know, when you're sitting, because I'm not young, I'll sit at a table with somebody. I'll say, you know, you should really put the phone away and have a conversation with somebody. You know, I'll actually like a teaching moment, like the teacher in me, and I don't say it in a nasty way. I you know, and sometimes they're in their 20s or 30s or whatever, and it's like, oh, like I didn't realize, because it's such an addiction. It's like
Yeah,
it's attached to them.
and they haven't been taught, they haven't been given that space to, like, we both grew up pre-internet, post-internet, and pre-social media. So I think we're lucky that we could see both sides. I love technology. Where else can you do this?
Yeah.
Halfway across the world, just talk as if we're in the same room. It's fantastic. There's a lot of positives. I'm not one to ban social media or like hate technology. I do embrace it, but at the same time, I can step away. Like I'm sure you can. You just enjoy the world. How do we get people back? Because I think that's a reason as well why movies are failing as well. Because nobody has the attention span anymore. People don't read anymore because once again they don't have the attention span because they've been trained to just look at flashing images, 10-second bursts. Shorts used to be a minute, now they're 10 seconds. Like it's getting to that point where it's just gonna be blips, no like Clockwork Orange. Blip, 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 blip. That's the way.
Esquire recently did a piece on how in society today people generally don't read, and books are going by the wayside, and kids, they're writing papers with AI, and they lose their writing skills and their reading skills, and it's not a positive, any of it. It's just
How do we convince people, or how do we bring them back? Because I'm not about the carrot and stick thing. That doesn't work. What I mean? Oh, you're going to get banned, blah blah blah, all that doesn't work. It just makes people dig their heels in more. But how could we get? Because we're going to lose. I was talking to a film director last year, and he was talking about special. You can't get special effects artists anymore. Like nobody's coming up through the special effect, and that was like horror movies. God, that was, you always got the DVDs because you wanted to see the special effects team. That's almost as in hand as the actors. You wanted to see who the special effects people were, and they were almost as famous as the movie stars. Everyone had their own mix for blood and stuff, but even that, indie productions are finding it hard. They can't get special effects people coming up. They don't have the dexterity, because doing that, believe it or not, doesn't let these work anymore.
Wow.
But how do we get people back? How do we convince them?
I think it's almost like in small doses, like this book I was telling you about, The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. Some of the pieces are a half page, 1 page, 2 pages, very short but powerful, moving. And you, as an educator, you give this to a kid, and they're moved by it. And they could handle a half page. They could handle 1 page, and then you give them another story. It could be the same book or a different author, and it's short, but it's impactful. And they say, oh, wow, reading can be fun, because it's the whole instant gratification thing. You post something, and within seconds you get likes. Yep. Wow, I'm popular. I'm somebody. I exist. But if you read something and you're moved by it, inspired by it, that could be a great experience too. And I think, a great teacher can pass this on to kids, teens, the next generation. Because 1 minute TikTok videos, getting their news or whatnot from that's not real life. That's a soundbite. That's a piece of propaganda. That's not art for the most part.
No, because I remember when I did history back in the day, we were always told to get 2 sources from opposing viewpoints, and somewhere in between, then you can start to dig down and get the actual events, because everything's told from a perspective. And everyone has a perspective, has a bias. That's just nothing wrong with it. We all do. Our life, leads a certain way, and we have what we like and what we don't like, or the way we want things to be. So when you're trying to study a historical incident, you have to get both sides, because then you can sort of see the 2 angles, and then that's where you start to drill down to maybe get at the truth.
Yeah.
Which you may never get to because you weren't there, and that's it. That's it. You may never get the truth. You may just have to accept it. You just do the best you can. And that was fine too, as long as you provided your evidence and you documented everything and what your findings were. But yeah, everything now is just Yeah, just one side. Don't question. Don't think. Don't be critical. Don't research. Don't spend any time reading or watching. And like film is down a death because all this stuff's going out, just shiny lights. But nothing. None of that stuff's going to stay with anybody. Yeah, and you can see it. You can see it with you see the ones going around and they're like lost. We have like a twinkle in our eyes, like even just talking to each other. And oh, remember that, remember this, and we'll remember back,
Yeah.
and it makes the experience enjoyable. But kids are missing out on it. I do despair. I just feel sorry that they're losing out on something. Not, and I don't say once again, I love technology. It's fantastic, but I don't know. It's just people can't regulate themselves, or
I see
the
young people in groups and they're all staring at their phones. They're not talking.
yeah.
They they say, going to a bar, going to a club, people aren't even dating, and even sex is less with young people.
Yeah, apparently boomers, the 60 plus are having more sex than
Yeah,
20-year-olds. You're like,
they don't
that's
have
not right.
they don't have the social skills to connect.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not making a blanket statement. Believe me, I have
No,
young.
but it's more than not. That's why it's if it was a small group, you would say it, but it's no, it's too much of a. You see patterns. I see the awkwardness on a daily basis because I encounter a lot of young people.
A lot of young people, and just holding a conversation, they don't even know, look the person in the eye, and they're
Yeah,
half.
80% of it's body language. You know what the person actually means, even though they're saying something. Hence irony, sarcasm. That's all lost now, and it's
Yeah, they're half looking at their phone, they're
mm,
half listening to you, and it's yeah. Look, technology is like everything else. There's pluses and minuses. I did an interview earlier today with Australia. Tomorrow with Italy.
mhm.
You meet interesting people. You connect with interesting people. It's it's there's a beauty to it, but at the same time, you'll text messages, for example. It's not even English. It's numbers and letters and
And emojis and shapes and yeah.
emojis, and what happens when the kid has to write a term paper, or you know you can't just have AI do all the work for you. It's not a learning experience.
No, and also I grew up with coding. I mean, I'm an old school VBA, uh, databases, etc. Computers don't understand. You still need the human eye.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's so many mistakes happen because they just rely, even back just running algorithms. They can't pick up little nuances, even things like addresses. They still can't get that sorted, and postcodes, zip codes in your site. I mean, they still can't figure that out, even though there's a pattern and the computers can't. They can't do it. They don't know that this road is blocked off every 2 weeks because people are going to that particular school or
Yeah.
business or the market. They can't factor that in.
Yeah.
You need that human.
It's not 100% any
No.
of it. And I'm seeing AI, even this morning, they'll have a story on somebody, actor, actress, singer, wrestler, whatever the case may be. And it's the wrong guy. It's the wrong guy.
I've started getting emails from promoters, right? And you could just they've run a search on the Horrific podcast and me, and you're blah blah, and you can just see that it's just been pulled from an algorithm. There's no sentence structure, nothing. And you're like, wow. I started we have anthologies. So Volume 5 is coming out. Horrific Tales Volume 5 will be coming out in the next month, and I've started to get AI submissions, and I didn't understand what was going on with these things. And then somebody said AI, and then I clicked. Oh, right, okay, that's what an AI story looks like. Whoa,
Yeah.
There's nothing, no feeling. It just felt
soulless.
Fake. There's no voice, and everyone has a voice, and that's your voice that you bring to your creation. And I'm like, what is this? And then somebody just mentioned offhand AI, and then when I clicked the two together, I'm like, oh, you bastard! How dare you? And that's one thing I always have the authors. If every time we do a release, we'll have a celebration stream. So the authors that have taken part, I want them on the stream so they can talk about their stories. And when people refuse to turn up, I start getting suspicious.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? What, you can't talk about your story? Really? That was something that came out of you, your life experience, you poured into that. You can't talk about it. What's going on? Are you really that bad a communicator? Yet you're on social media all the time going blah 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 blah. Mate, I'm starting to join the dots, and I've got a bit more stringent. In fact, Tony and I had a massive conversation about it the last time, because I was fuming. I was angry.
I know teachers, they're holding the kids accountable. I asked you to write a paper, not have AI write the paper,
Yeah, just wrap them over the knuckles. Might just have to do that and get them to not do it. Yeah, we're in interesting times. We are part of history right now. That's the thing. Maybe we don't see it because we are here. Can't see the wood for the trees. But it'll be interesting if somebody looks back, and hear these conversations, they did understand what was happening. Maybe they can explain, 20, 30 years later what this was all about, because I do scratch my head.
Yeah.
But I worry about art. I worry about the creative process. I worry because people don't have life experiences anymore. They're not interacting. They're not meeting that crazy person down the street who is gibbering, and then you wonder why they're like that. And then you get the story, you find out things, or you're not dating, you're not actually living a carnal existence, flesh and blood, feeling the wind in your face. How can you write? And actually, we see that in movies now, because you could tell the people creating have just lived in a bubble and they don't have any life experience. They've not earned it. They've just been put there and insulated their entire lives, and it comes across because everything's flat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, a great writer will eviscerate him or herself and just pour their guts onto the printed page, and a machine cannot do that. I could look at a piece and just go, that's AI. I could just tell. It's
Yeah, it should help connect, not be a replacement. Yeah, exactly. Because
there's
a danger with this as well. And I've seen it with YouTubers, and some fall off the wagon, and this is their only way to talk to people.
Right.
And that's completely different from have somebody in your face, as in, if you step too close, so you don't, if you shake hands with somebody and it's slightly awkward, or you can pick up vibes, or if somebody's not enjoying being there, or you're talking about something they're not happy, you can pick up all those things from body language and being there in front of the person. Where this can be, it's good, but it doesn't substitute actually going out there and talking to people. And
I go to open mics. And read from my books, and I'll see people cry, literally cry. And I don't care if I sell one book. To me, I accomplished, you move somebody, you touch somebody. And that's very different than pressing buttons and having a machine write for you.
Yeah. No, it's AI can be used as a tool like anything else, but it's not a crutch. You gotta walk through life. You gotta at least try. And do you know what? It's okay to fail.
I feel bad for the artists, the people that paint and draw, because obviously it's cheaper to press a button and have your cover instantly done or whatnot. But it doesn't mean it's the same quality. It doesn't mean it's the same level either. I think it's going to hurt more than it's going to help a lot of, especially artists. It's
yeah, well, that's what I try to do here is, talk to people, and hopefully you make a connection with someone out there. Just having candid conversations. That's why I don't do it as a very loose format, because how do you get to know someone if you're going by a formula?
Exactly.
It's not fun for me, so that's not why I'm here. If I wanted to do that, I'd be a talk show host, in a clinical studio, and the 10-minute segment and the same 5 questions, and to me, that'd be a fate worse than death. That'd be a punishment.
What you're doing, a good interviewer is few and far between today. Also, I mean, You're having a real conversation from the heart, back and forth, listening to what the person has to say. I see people, they have a list of questions that they ask, pretty much every guest that they have, and that's not it. That's not an interview.
I have 7 bullet points here. And that's just because I want to make sure I cover, and we've done it, you know what I mean? That's just a quick check to see that I've made sure I cover. And to remember the talk about the book, which has just come out. That's always a big one. Talk about the book, because I know how easy it is to go in tangents. That's it. Why?
No, absolutely. But Howard Stern and some of these guys flipped the script. It became about them, not about the guest. It became, they're the entertainer.
Oh God, I can't remember her name. She was in Smallville. Durant, was it?
I don't know.
She was a girl. She was in the with Tom Welling, the pre-Superman thing, and the big fella out of Blade 2. That was her husband.
I never saw it.
I just remember that clip. Basically, she walked. They were just being that much of a dick to her. She walked out in tears, like halfway through the interview.
Wow.
And the thing is, her husband's her husband could have snapped that guy. Like, that guy's a big weed. Like, her husband's a big fella.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you mad? Do you really think, if you're lucky that I think she was so polite about it, because if she had like proper been upset, and went blah blah blah, he just did that to me, I'm sure that big fella would have went in and just told them all a new one.
The goal isn't to make your guests cry and storm out of the studio. That's ridiculous.
And like, what did that achieve? Because you're in the guys for a minute, so edgy, but then people are like, I don't want to watch you. You're a dick.
Yeah, the rage bait. Howard Stern makes guests cry, and then people watch it because and they generate money from that. But I've seen them do good work too. I don't want but at the same time,
I just remember that was a turning point for me.
Yeah,
where I just thought, nah, that's out of order. Nah, I'm not happy with that.
I just find with a lot of comics, it gets very repetitive. How many times did you hear the guy go, if I weren't married, what I would do to you? And, by the 1,000th time that you hear the same shtick, it gets boring after a while,
Yeah. That's the problem with comedy movies as well. That once I've done the gag, we just covered the Scary Movie series, because obviously the new one's coming out. So my OCD will not let me cover a movie unless I've done all the rest. If that makes sense. So I'm not going to do part 6 unless I've done the first 5 movies on the show. So right. Anyway, that's just the way my brain works. I'm like, no, can't do it yet. I've got to get these done. And you could just see by the 1, 2, 3 were good, and they'd managed to change each one. And then 4 and 5, you're just like, oh my God, there's nothing new here. What he's doing. This is actually painful to watch.
He comes churning out a product.
Yeah. And once again, back to the Naked Gun movie, I was surprised by that. I wasn't expecting to laugh at all. I genuinely wasn't. But it was actually the trailer where they did the O.J. Simpson joke. I thought, yeah, okay, right. I got yous. Okay, right. We'll give yous a go.
Even during the credits, it was funny. And, I sat through that Naked Gun. I thought the original was funnier, but it was worth seeing. I enjoyed it.
No, but that's all right. I wasn't expecting anything. And like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. But that's the thing with long run. When you've done the gag over and over again, like, a lot of movies don't even make it to part 2. They get the second outing of a comedy movie. It's just like, and we've done it with horror, like you mentioned with Halloween. That's a strange franchise. It didn't know what to do with itself. They couldn't decide whether Michael Myers was supernatural or human, and they kept playing with it. And they still, right up to the last movie, 2 years ago, was that now? Couldn't decide what it was. And you're like,
I just literally got bored by those last 3 movies. Again, if no matter what you do to the guy, he just gets back up. It's not particularly suspenseful,
And I felt sorry for Jamie Lee Curtis, because in the culture's always, oh, you horrible fans, I hate you, I'm not doing fan service. And she was actually going out thanking people for the support, which was refreshing, because like, oh yeah, I remember we used to get thanked and not told we're terrible people. And then the movie itself was terrible, but her character, it was like the Terminators going against each other, because you had Michael Myers squishing people's heads with one hand until he came up against Laurie Strode, and then the two are bashing each other about, and you're like, all right, somebody's got plot armor.
Yeah. You know, she's an old lady, but she has like superpowers now. You know,
yeah. But big strapping healthy men are getting their heads squished like grapes.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, make it make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but there you go. So the book's out available now. It's on
Amazon.
Amazon. Any other platforms?
I do mail order, but New York to England would be tough. So I would say stick to Amazon. I also did a book, Wrestling Rings, Blackboards, and Movie Sets, which is 100 short stories, including the making of the wrestler, behind the scenes. I did that.
Yeah, because I didn't see, I only saw the 2 books. I didn't see your third one, or is that
the third one? Was like 25 years ago.
All right, so that's
yeah, so it's kind of out of print at this point.
All right, cool. Ah, fair enough. That's yeah, that's the good thing about now, though. Once again, where technology is a benefit, because at least books now can stay in print unless databases get wiped out.
Yeah, it's remarkable, the technology, and I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world, but my publisher, WOHW Publishing, they you could literally go back into the book and make a correction or a change, even though the book's in print already.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, I've had to do that.
Yeah, to me, it's remarkable. A friend of mine did book production for many, many years. He said he's never seen a book ever that was 100% clean, with no mistakes. So you go through several hundred pages and you find a handful of mistakes. It's nice to be able to jump back in and fix it, just because you care. Not that it's life or death.
No, because once again, it's like anything. There's no perfect movie. There's no perfect book. But if the intentions are and you get what the creator's trying to say, then you're going to be on board. It's when you don't, if you feel like the creator doesn't want you to get something from it, or doesn't want to entertain you, they're just dialing it in, or worse still, don't care. They're the worst, the ones that just don't care, and they're just doing it for a paycheck, and it's obvious. You know, I mean, I think that's when you start honing in on mistakes. I find that when I review things, is if I'm not having a good time, I'll start focusing on bits that annoy me.
Yeah.
And then I'll start bringing them up, where if I'm having a good time, I'm very forgiving of a lot of things, like special effects. I'm always forgiving of that. If I feel like the stories are acting, I'm always forgiving of, because if the story's there and they're doing their best and it's serviceable, I'm happy, etc., you know.
Yeah, expecting perfection, even with master directors, you know, like a Scorsese or whoever. You know, it's hard to make a perfect film, but I'll tell you, that movie, The Life of Chuck, that I saw recently, that's as close to a perfect film as you're going to see. Just a beautiful.
It is on my list. I'll need to bump it up, because it's got so much I want to watch. Like, that's only so much time, you know, and I do need to sleep at least an hour or two at night.
The other thing is, if you enjoy world cinema, and you know, you're always going to find out about some movie, whether it's recent or, you know, decades ago, that wasn't on your radar. What I've tried to do, and I hope this doesn't sound pretentious, but I took the British Film Institute's 100 greatest movies of all time, and I just said to myself, I want to see all of these movies, and I've seen at this point probably 80, 85 of them, because at bare minimum, even if you don't think it's one of the 100 greatest movies of all time, there's going to be something of value in it.
Yep.
You know, if it's on that list. And why the British Film Institute instead of the American Film Institute? Because it's more world cinema. The American Film Institute is,
Very American, just
very American, and films that you've probably seen already. So
it's funny because when I talk to Americans and it's like it was foreign, as if it's a phenomena, I'm like, really? Okay. Because here we just watch everything because it's right in the doorstep. Why not?
Like I tell people, it's called the Apu trilogy, APU, Satyajit Ray, and it's three films with the same characters, following these characters over time, and it's so moving because they go through these unbelievable tragedies. They're poor people trying to make their way in the world, and you see their families through all three films, and all three of these are masterpieces. And but you talk to the average American film goer, this is an Indian film from 50 or 60 years ago. They're not going to know it. It's
one like that. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called now. It was about, was it a Kenyan? Found a Coke bottle. No, it fell out of, the story was it fell out of an airplane, like a Coke bottle lid.
Gods must be crazy. The gods must be crazy.
Yes. Oh my!
Great film, great movie. Yeah.
God, that was like, when was that? 81 or 80? Like, it's way back.
That's going back.
That's way back in the time. Sorry, showing our age here, folks. But yeah, that was what that's an example of world cinema, and there's no dialogue. But bloody hell, you just got on board, and he could come from his perspective. He had never seen anything in the modern world.
But it's amazing. You see, if something's great, I haven't thought of that movie in 40 or 50 years. You mentioned it, boom.
Yeah, but you twigged it. When you're talking about that, I'm like, oh God, yeah, that reminds. Yeah,
it's unique and it's exceptional, that film. So create art. So the movie Once, about street musicians in Ireland, beautiful movie, and played by actual musicians, the actors, and it's about musicians. It's basically a modern musical because you see them in the studio, you see them performing, you see them busking in the street. It's one musical scene after another. They're not breaking into song and dance like Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire. So the punchline is, these guys were literally playing for change in the street. Next thing you know, a few years later, they make this movie. They're at the Oscars. They win Best Song at the Oscars. In front of billions of people, they're performing. Then they make the acceptance speech for the song, and they go, create art. Create art. Because look where it took them. It took them from playing on the street corner to playing in front of billions of people, and now playing in major venues throughout the world. And something like that inspires me. When we did The Wrestler, hundreds of years from now, people will watch Randy the Ram, Mickey Rourke's character, say to his daughter, I'm just a broken down piece of meat, and I don't want you to hate me. Just like Brando and On the Waterfront, I could have been a contender. You create something that's special, and it's there forever. And, it's not about making a few bucks more. I don't need to see X-Men, 17. I honestly don't. It's done. I want to see something. I want to be moved by something. And
well, that's what I'd say. I equate mainstream Hollywood now to the civil service, because that's what they are. They're civil servants. They're just turning up and going through the check boxes and going through the motions.
Yeah.
Nothing there.
For the most part, but there are great indie filmmakers who are putting out, quality films, and you have to find them. I recommend 2 streaming services: Mubi, M-U-B-I, because it's a lot of world cinema.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yep.
Excellent. And the Criterion channel, Criterion, they have thousands and thousands of releases, the greatest films ever made. And to their credit, they're not film snobs. They have a lot of Grindhouse, a lot of horror, the Criterion Network. And yeah, it's those two channels 24/7. You could be watching great
Oh,
movies.
even Tubi's, that's a dangerous channel.
Yeah, Tubi. We have
That's
stuff.
you could lose yourself in there.
Oh
Like
yeah,
honestly, that's a dangerous channel. That's a dangerous. You just oh no, I haven't got 6 hours. Go away. Go leave me alone.
I have two films on Tubi: Wrestling Then and Now, a documentary. I'm actually in it, and 350 Days. If you like wrestling and you like documentaries, they're on Tubi. I mean, I'm not crazy about films having many commercials, but it's free. And some people, that's important. They don't have a lot of money for streaming or whatever.
Yeah, because the pattern TV to me, the TV people got involved in streaming and ruined it because it brought that model across, which people were moving away from because they're sick of it and they don't want to subscribe to 20 different channels and only watch two things. It's
Yeah, but if you're a movie buff, movie aficionado, whatever you want to call it, movie lover, Tubi,
Luna's
and Criterion Network. Yeah.
Yep.
He says, I love Criterion. Yep. Brilliant minds think alike.
There you go. So where's the best place for people to find you, Evan, if they want to look up and see your work?
Mostly Facebook. Just look me up on Facebook, send me a friend request. I also have an Evan Ginzburg's Old School Wrestling Memories page on Facebook. From the Arthouse to the Grindhouse Facebook page. Just look me up. You'll find me. It's easy enough. I'm all over the place. More Facebook. I mean, I'm on X and LinkedIn and all the others, but Facebook's
that's the most active one. All right, cool. Well, Evan, just want to say thanks very much. It's been great chat. I could go on for hours here, easily. Yeah. But I want to release you at some point back into the wild before you end up going, oh, you wouldn't let me go.
No. It's fun. It's fun talking to somebody who gets it. Sometimes I'll go on a young guy's, podcast, and they're consumed with, one genre, and they know nothing else. And it's like I'm at a point. I watch a superhero movie. About a third of it, I don't even know what's going on because I haven't seen the other 27 movies.
Yeah, that's bad, isn't it?
It's like, isn't it the job of the filmmaker to tell a story where you at least understand it? I'm like, who is this character? Where did they come from? I'm literally going, what's going on? So, on some of these shows, this is all they know. They know franchises and superheroes. You have eclectic taste. I respect that. It's refreshing almost, really.
I love movies. I always have. It's my favorite form of storytelling, but also books. You know what I mean? The two loves, they're very close together. Like the two places, either the library or the cinema, were my escape routes from life.
Yeah.
And that's if I hadn't done that, I've ended up in dark places. Because that's what everyone else was doing. I was the weirdo.
And let me just add this quickly. Libraries are a great source of movies. They have really impressive collections that you could watch for free, all different genres.
Yeah, just need a library card. Go in and get.
Exactly.
I think it's a week. You can actually have it for a week, not even just like a day or two. It's not like a video store. You can actually book it out.
Yeah, and you can renew it usually. Every system's different, but my point being, I have Mario Bava films sitting here from the library, and then you have these really mainstream. They were just in movie theaters a couple of weeks or months ago, but you could find some great horror in libraries. You'd be surprised. It's another great resource, especially if your money is limited. These are tough times for a lot of people.
Yeah. So there's always an option. Just embrace art, create. If there's an option, I always say that's my preachy bit. If you feel like you can do something, and it doesn't have to be a career, it could just be a hobby, but putting something of yourself out there in the universe, even for your own mental well-being, is not a waste of time.
Absolutely. I tell people, and I hope this doesn't sound preachy, as you get older, oh, thank you, Sergeant. Thank you. So I tell people what's most important: family, friends, helping people, following your muse, like you were just saying, and also attaining some level of spirituality. It doesn't have to be formal religion, just so you have peace of mind and calm. I
Don't be
practice.
an automaton. Be a living, breathing being that's engaged in the world.
Yeah, I practice Tai Chi and Qigong, and it's very calming and healthy. And you're out with people, you're socializing, sequestering yourself and just watching endless content isn't the answer either. And
No, just
some people do that.
unplug for a bit. Smell the roses. That was the old phrase, wasn't it?
Well,
Stop and
part
stop
of
and
part of Tai Chi and yoga is being out there in nature and
mm.
literally smelling the roses. It's very
Oh,
healthy.
Dale just popped on as well. Oh, cool.
Same here, Del.
So
There you go.
with East Coast, West Coast, with New Zealand, that with yeah, all over the place now. Everyone tuning in, great to see. But yeah, honestly, folks, check Evan out. Honestly, check out his book. Check out his work. I'm interested now. Just the little anecdotes and that, which just makes like that's it. That's what it's all about. It's you get something. It's not just the medium itself. It's the experience of going to see the medium, which is why don't just sit in your house. Go out there.
And
Oh, thanks for the
sometimes
super chat, Dale. Fantastic.
you go.
That'll
Well,
go towards
hey,
the new computer.
that's nice. Thank you. Some people are very generous.
I really appreciate it. Honestly, I'm blown away. It's the fact people still like super chat and stuff. I'm like, oh, I still get embarrassed. Like, really?
There you go. Well, that says something for what you're doing. It's it inspires people to go above and beyond. It's great. It's great. I mean it sincerely. You see in pro wrestling, somebody will have $5,000 for a ticket or merchandise, but they won't have $5 for a wrestler in needs GoFundMe or whatnot. And I'm not impressed by that they have $5,000 for a ticket, but they won't dig into their pocket to help somebody.
Unless I can post it on social media for clout. Like, see somebody homeless and they give them money and they take a picture. Like, what are you doing?
Or they're making money by giving the guy money because watching
it's horrible. Nah, we don't do that. Not about that at all. But honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could go on here for hours. It's great to have a chat and just talk about things. Yes, folks.
Anytime. I'm constantly seeing horror films. Anytime. Yep. I enjoy this.
Fantastic. And thanks everyone for tuning in, both Twitch and YouTube. Great to see you. And it just leaves me to say, until next time, keep up to date with the channel, do the type of clicky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.